It looks like Max Verstappen has the whole Formula One world talking about him these past few days. He dropped some big news about maybe quitting racing early. This happened after the FIA gave him a punishment for saying bad words during press meetings. The three-time world champion feels like he's had enough of the sport and winning. So now instead of having fun and enjoying racing like he should, he's meeting constant problems from the FIA. Plus there are more sprint races now. Could this make Verstappen decide to end his Formula One career early? And if so, will the FIA make big changes to stop other young drivers from doing the same thing? It seems like Max Verstappen has had enough when it comes to the FIA and their rule about not swearing. While he has been the loudest one complaining about this issue, he's definitely not the only one to use bad language sometimes when driving. With such huge pressure and lots of excitement, it's normal that a bad word could come out towards someone or something on the car. Verstappen said this was nothing personal, but after he protested the FIA's press meeting and went to answer questions outside of the room to a bunch of reporters, there was one question that got more attention than others. Could these moves by the people in charge affect Verstappen's future in the sport? To this, the three-time world champion said, "Oh, for sure. I mean, these kind of things definitely decide my future as well. You can't be yourself or you have to deal with these kinds of silly things. I think now I'm at the stage of my career that you don't want to be dealing with this all the time. It's really tiring. Of course, it's great to have success and win races, but once you've accomplished all this, winning championships and races, you want to just have a good time as well. Everyone is pushing to the limit. Everyone in this battle, even at the back of the grid. But if you have to deal with all these kinds of silly things, for me that is another way of not continuing in the sport." We've been hearing a lot of talk about Verstappen retiring early from the sport and not looking into racing in his 40s. This is something that has made a lot of F1 fans angry because we're watching a talent that we might not see again for quite some time. No matter how we feel about the Dutch driver winning so much in the past couple of years, the fact that all of the F1 drivers stood behind him for support says it all. They went crazy on their shared WhatsApp group talking about whether or not Max should do the community service punishment he got. And the truth is, the FIA cannot punish all of the drivers on the grid if they use bad language from time to time. Verstappen has made it clear that he's not happy with the FIA's decisions. Apart from him holding his own press meetings outside, with the FIA's rooms and also in the Red Bull's area, the Dutch driver started to give short and simple answers to the reporters from the FIA. When being asked why he does this, his response was quite sarcastic and direct at the same time. The three-time champion said, "I find it ridiculous what happened, so why should I then give full answers? Because it's very easy apparently that you get a fine or you get some sort of penalty. So I prefer not to speak a lot, save my voice, and we can do the interviews also somewhere else." It also started a very interesting conversation in the cool-down room of the Singapore Grand Prix. Piastri asked Norris to answer how did he feel after almost touching the barrier with his front wing, but without using bad language. This is now going to be talked about for quite some time. And while it might be funny for the fans, it's not so funny for Verstappen and Red Bull. Apart from this, Verstappen also gave a huge hint about retiring in the next couple of years. He said that when he won't be part of the sport in a couple of years, he and Ricciardo can sit back and laugh about all the good moments they've been through in their careers. This opens up the question of whether or not the FIA should do something to let the drivers race their own race and not broadcast everything that's being said on TV. This is something that Verstappen said himself when giving his own solution about the problem that seems to be bothering the sport so much that they're ready to give penalties left and right. But Verstappen went on to say everyone swears, some people a bit more than others. Of course, abuse is something else, but I think a lot of things get broadcast nowadays where in other sports you don't run around with a microphone attached to you. A lot of people say a lot of bad things when they're full of adrenaline. In other sports, it just doesn't get picked up. When here, probably also for entertainment purposes, things get sent out. It's just probably a bit of the world that we live in. I think it already starts with not broadcasting it or not giving the option for people to hear it. But to this, the president of the FIA had an argument. He admitted that the governing body has been the first one to encourage more broadcasting, because that's how the fans and viewers get to know what's happening with the drivers and the teams. If these radios are not available, we will be stripped away from key information like tire wear, how the car feels and stability of the car, as well as the strategies of the drivers and the teams. This is way too much of a risk for bad words that have been present in the sport for quite some time. When talking about banning the broadcasting when involving bad words, Ben Sulayem said we can limit the usage of team radio containing bad language in the TV broadcast, and we are doing that. We're the ones who actually approved more radio talk on the TV broadcast. But we have rules, and the rules are there for the benefit of the sport, and the rules are there to be policed and to be respected. Also, we have to differentiate between our sport, motorsports, and rap music. We're not rappers. You know, they say the F word how many times per minute. We're not on that. That's them and we're us. This also comes from a man who has been racing for quite a long period in his career, having won the Middle East Rally Championship 14 times. When talking about addressing the anger issues while being in the car, Ben was stubborn that it's possible. for the drivers to keep their tongues tied behind their teeth in certain situations. However, the comparison with the rappers made some of the current F1 drivers angry, especially Lewis Hamilton. He spoke about the racial element that the president of the FIA involved in his statement, elaborating on his feeling about the current stance of Ben, which is another part of the beef that Hamilton has with Ben Sulayem after the jewelry ban and the controversial case of Susie Wolff. The 7-time world champion said, "When I was 22, I did not think of it as much, and it was more about your emotions, just firing and saying whatever comes to mind and forgetting. However, many people are listening and kids listening and all those kinds of things, so I agree in that sense. You know, you listen to some of the other drivers and they've not got it yet, so at some stage they probably will." I don't like how he expressed it, saying that rappers is very stereotypical, and if you think about it, most rappers are black, and that really points it towards when it says, "We are not like them." So I think those are the wrong choice of words. There's a racial element there. Hamilton has also given a lot of support to Verstappen, one of the few things that we would see in today's sport. He said that if the community penalty was given to him, then he wouldn't be doing it for anything in this world. This is easy to understand because we can trace it back to 2023 and see how Hamilton played with the FIA when it came to the jewelry ban. The governing body insisted that it's something that could cause more harm than good in situations where the drivers could crash the car. But the 7-time world champion refused to obey the rules instantly as it all stands. The FIA is stubborn that the swearing needs to be reduced, but even drivers like Norris, who are not using it as much as the others, said that it would definitely affect not only the popularity of the sport but also the rawness, because this is pure emotion we're talking about, and it's something that's a strong constructive part of the Formula One world in general. With all of this in mind, do you think that Verstappen could be pushed to retirement thanks to the FIA statements and penalties towards him? And more importantly, do you think that the Dutch driver can make a difference in the world of Formula One by being an original driver and setting a precedent for the rest of the grid as to how they shouldn't do something that makes them uncomfortable in their own skin? Let us know in the comments below, and once you do that, make sure to click on the video that's appearing on your screen right now.